There's a lot of reasons why one shouldn't get an electric car. It's not like EVs are suited for everyone who's thinking of buying a car. And today, let's discuss what could be the reasons that you shouldn't be aiming to get an EV. I mean, the first reason to not buy an EV is quite simple. If you live in an apartment and you don't have a place to charge your car, that would be a main sign that your lifestyle is not suited to get an EV. But saying that, if you have a place where you can charge your car, or you have a charger near your house where you would be able to charge your car regularly and it's not too much of an hassle, you can still live that dream of owning an EV while living in an apartment. Or you can always choose to have a plug-in hybrid as an option, or even have a chat with your building management, because sometimes they would be able to sort out your EV charging needs, which is unlikely in most scenarios, but there's no harm in having a chat, right? Now, I'm not saying that living in an apartment, not having regular access to a charger, you shouldn't buy an EV like entirely and disregard it. I'm just saying it's a bit impractical to have it that way. And that's one of the reasons I wasn't even thinking of buying an EV while I was living in an apartment. But as soon as I moved into a house, that was my first thing to do, like, plan to buy an EV. Although there were some complications which were needed to be tackled before we actually bought our EV, but nonetheless, that just makes these things easier. So, looking at all these people in the city just made me realize that maybe your daily run's not enough to justify that you should be buying an EV, right? Because not everyone can save a lot of money by using the electric vehicle facility where the amount of money you pay to travel for hundreds of kilometers is less than what you would do for petrol. And to offset that initial cost of an EV, for me at least, it made sense. Now, the other thing you might want to consider is how far do you travel each day? I know I just said that it shouldn't be less than maybe 10 kilometers. If you live in the city, you work in the city, you don't travel. Overall, I think run of your car is less than, let's say, 100 kilometers in a month. Then it literally doesn't make sense to invest in an EV, maybe a hybrid, not even a plug-in hybrid. But if you travel more, plug-in hybrid would be my next recommendation. But what if you were to travel more than, let's say, 300 kilometers in a day? Then also it doesn't make sense to have an EV as a regular runner. But saying that, if you want to save a lot of money, that would be the ideal scenario where you can charge your car at your workplace. Let's assume you travel to 50 kilometers and you have access to a charger or a quick charger, then you don't need to worry about it, because the chargers are quite quick as long as it's available and the infrastructure around the area that you're visiting is good enough. Then you don't need to worry about it. It would make more sense to actually buy an EV then. Now, the other main reason which is preventing you to buy an EV could be that your travel is more than, let's say, 300 kilometers in a day, and you don't have access to a charger on your way, and maybe your travel is taking you to different places each day, so you cannot plan it well, then it might be too much of an hassle. But saying that, it would actually make more sense for you to buy an EV then, because you can save on a lot of money when you're using EV infrastructure to replace your fuel car. Or just get a plug-in hybrid. I think that could be a good compromise as well. If you don't have specially access to a lot of electric charger infrastructure on your way, and if you have a situation where you have to travel to different locations for your work and it's too much of a hassle for you to plan it. But I would say if it's less than 300 kilometers, EVs these days wouldn't give you a trouble. You just come home, plug in your car every night, and you would be able to get a full tank of your charged car, which should give you more than 300 kilometers easy. Both of my cars do. I got a BYD Aero 3 and a Tesla Model 3, and they're old versions. I'm sure the new versions that they come up with would give you more range as far as the total capacity is concerned. But nonetheless, there's heaps of decent plug-in hybrid options available, which claims more than 1,000 kilometers of range in one full tank of gas, plus the electric charger, like charge included in the car. And BYD got a couple of plug-in hybrids, as well as I've heard the Haval H6, which is quite popular in Australia, got a plug-in hybrid version as well. and that one claims to give you around 180 kilometers of range. I understand it's just a claim, but assume it even gives you 120, 130. That's more than enough range. Now, I'm not sure about all the states, but in Queensland especially, there's a lot of benefits to get if you want to know where to lease a car and you want to get a plug-in hybrid or electric car. You would get FBT rebates, and which makes me to question, like, if you're getting lease on the car, these are the only options which does make sense. And if you're not into a electric car and the lifestyle doesn't suit you for the reasons that we just discussed in this video, it might be a good option to you for you to just even give the plug-in hybrids a try. Now, the third reason would have to be the characteristic that your car has. And some people believe, being electric, the electric cars doesn't have character, it doesn't have that sound of the engine, and it just gives you a different vibe as far as the normal traditional cars. And that is where the Hyundai's new version of Ioniq N takes a good place, where it gives you the same feeling of driving a turbocharged car. It does emulate the sounds of an engine quite well, and apparently it's one of the most fun electric car that you can try, and that's on top of my list to try whenever I would be able to do it. I would like to give it a try and see how good it is, because all the reviews that I've seen of that car just suggest that it could be the best electric car experience, and it's as close to driving a well equipped turbocharged car. So there you have it. Like, there's a lot of options for you to buy an electric car. There's a lot of reasons to buy an electric car. But for whatever reason, if you don't want to buy one, there's a lot of reasons for that as well, including not having access to the superchargers. You want a cheaper car because electric cars are certainly not cheap. Or you just don't like the overall aesthetic as well as whatever the available cars are, because given that the fuel car has been in the market for so long, there's way more options of the shape, size, as well as the features that they provide, including a full off-roading vehicle. Because given that I live in Queensland, where off-roading is part of the lifestyle of a lot of people and families, it's still a fair bit away where we get something like a Tesla, Cybertruck, or even cars like that, and for them to be economically sound, for to be accessible to those families, right? Because a lot of youths which people can buy cost less than 50,000, or there's a huge used market as well. But for EVs, it's not there yet. So let me know if you like this video, and especially if you own an EV while living in an apartment. So I would love to know, how do you manage that? And if you found this video informational, please share it with your friends or colleagues who would benefit from this video. And I'll see you in the next one.